Today we're going to talk about the power of conversation and American politics. Um, Now, the thing I noticed is throughout my time of being on this lovely earth, one of the main things we lack, especially in this country, is an understanding of each other. Is the the drive to see something other than what we think we know. And that made me also start thinking about anytime I've ever witnessed two people that dislike each other actually sit down and talk, even a racist and a black man, anytime I've seen two people that dislike each other sit down and actually talk with unbiased intentions, I guess, they end up being great friends. And I say that to say that conversation is very vital. We all know this. Even in, the fact that I've mentioned before, how many times do you walk past random people every day and you don't say anything? What if some of the best friendships, relationships that you were supposed to have or could have had was avoided because we're just too afraid to talk to each other anymore. We're too afraid to say, "Hey, how you doing?" Too afraid to introduce ourselves and things of that nature. And it shows in people's behavior currently nowadays. I constantly wonder, what do we really know? Anything you can conjure up in your head to be true. I mean, if whether you're a Trump supporter, whether you're I don't know, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, whatever, you can look online, no matter what your classification is of person. You can look online and find a way to validate your claims. There's people in this world that believe the earth is flat. There's people in this world that believe the earth is round. There's people in this world that believe there is no God. There's people in this world that believe that there is a God and Jesus Christ and a whole lot of other people. So why is there this division? Why is there so many different opinions? And why is it that when we boil down these opinions, the core values of them all seem to be the same? I bring that up when I talk about gods and religion. 9 times out of 10, those topics, I'm sorry, not those topics, the values, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, the values are very similar. So why don't these people talk? Why doesn't Christians talk with Catholics and also talk with Muslims and Buddhists? Because I feel like if we brought together all the different minds, I feel like that's the greatest way to achieve perfection. Even though there is no such thing as perfection, the closest way to get to it is to combine opposing minds. Because you don't just have people around you that's just like, oh, okay, yes, 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 yes men or yes women, whatever. It's great to have opposing minds because you learn that your way is not the only way, and that's something that we lack in this country and in today's world. Is we lack an understanding that we can have a difference of opinion and still be friends. We can have it. I can be hanging out with a gay person, and this person believes that, I don't know, whatever they choose to believe, I believe a whole nother thing, and we can still be best friends. I could hang out with a transgender person. I can hang out with an atheist person. I can hang out with every group, every classification of person and still be friends no matter what they classify themselves as, and that's the way it's supposed to be. When you create dialogue, you begin to understand, if your prerogative is to understand. Now, a lot of times when people go into conversation, it's not conversation. They simply either enter into a debate, or they come into it with intentions already, and it turns into an argument. When you engage someone, you shouldn't have any intentions, expectations, or anything. You should just be simply enjoying the moment of conversation, of interaction with that person. You should not have an agenda. None of us should. That's why I'm able to create some of the best relationships and friendships I've ever had, because I'm able to sit with any classification of person and literally form this bond off just a conversation, because I have no intention, that person has no intention, we have no expectations, nothing. We are simply just living in our own truth and being in ourselves and sharing our truths with each other, if that makes sense. If you cannot remove the guard, we can go back to me saying holding ourselves accountable, dealing with yourself, looking in the mirror, and all that type of stuff. Remove the guard and just live your truth. And have conversations unbiasedly, without intent, without agenda, without anything. Just simply talking. I bet you that your relationships, your circle, everything will rise. Everything will rise. And not only that, but your senses will rise also, because intellect, you'll become smarter. See, through sharing information is what made civilization what it is. If you look back in since the dawn of time, right? You got different governments, different empires, different sharing information with each other, trading, all of that. And because of that, we're able to learn. See, and that's the thing we don't take advantage of nowadays, is we don't take advantage of the fact that we have information at an enormous scale. Enormous scale. And seeing as how we have information at an enormous scale, we should be trading information with each other, not just forming an opinion of what we think things are or how we think things should be, sticking to that opinion and being selfish and being narcissistic and being almost like the world just revolves around your idea. That is not the truth, and it's the farthest thing from the truth. Understand that just because what's working for you is working doesn't mean something else isn't working for somebody else, which also doesn't mean that you can't adopt and learn something new and that also work for you. See, what we'll do is we'll form an opinion about something we find to be true, and then we validate that opinion by looking on social media. Our followers develop by the things we post, which means what attracts these people is the ideology that we have. So this is why on my social media, I reach out to different groups of people that may not agree, that may disagree, that may believe the opposite, because that makes me sharper and smarter. Because I want to see the other side. See, when you're just one-dimensional, you're limited. You're limiting your intellect, the power that you have to understand the clarity of life, everything. You're just limiting it by only being here. You're only thinking right here, and you're missing all that's out here. You're missing it all because you find this to be true, and that's cool. But understand that just because this is true doesn't mean all this out here ain't. That's the issue. We have all convinced ourselves that we are some type of gurus, we are some type of prophets, we are some type of people that have the answer. And honestly, none of us have the answer because all of us are asking the same questions. How to achieve happiness? What's the meaning of life? How do I know this? How do I know that? What if this? What if that? We're all asking the same questions and none of us have an answer for the simple fact that there is no answer. In life, you learn. From that learning, you go through more experiences. From those experiences, you learn more. That is it. And then you die. You can choose to make that beautiful or tragic. I choose to make my time here beautiful by talking to people that I've never thought I'd talk to. It's a beautiful thing. My opinion is not the only opinion on this earth. My way of thinking is not the only way of thinking on this earth, and I love that. Because I get the chance of learning a new way of thinking. I get the chance of adopting new ways, new paths, new brainwave, new everything. The energy is great. The energy is great. And you have to choose. This, again, I'm on the same topic. We're talking about the power of conversation. This is all tied in. Conversation, the trading of information, it helps everything. The clarity of your mind, the peace, the mental health, the emotional health. Talking, that's what therapists are for, right? Well, consider this your therapy. We have to learn to talk and speak so we can gain clarity and structure and a foundation and understanding and health all across the board. How do we do that? I mean, we have so many different opinions, all of which think that they are validated. And that's the tricky part. How do you get someone to listen when they already believe that their way is the right way? But then again, how do you know that your way is the right way? Why do you want to get them to listen? It's a billion ways to look at everything. I love it all. I love it all, right? I make posts, positive posts. Other people disagree with them. Some people agree with them. Cool. I'll tell you what does bother me, though. What does bother me is when I put all of the information on a post and a person still finds a way to say something negative. Because it doesn't register in my mind, like, how did you still find something to say negative? And then I began to think, well, what kind of person is that? Doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Again, I'm just spitballing. This is the beauty of talking to y'all. You know, it's just to be able to dig through them deep confines of your mind and figure out what is what, who is who, where is where, and all that, this, that, and the third. Where are you at with it? Do you feel like you've achieved happiness? Do you feel like you've achieved all that you've needed to achieve in the world? Or are you on the journey to do so? Most of us are on the journey to do so. I don't believe anybody's at the peak of happiness until they on their deathbed. Which might be crazy to say, right? Because you on your deathbed, how can you be at the peak of happiness? Well, at that point, nothing matters besides the fact that you've lived, and either you've done good or you've done bad, and you got to decide whether you can live with what you've done. And if you've done good, then that's the peak of happiness, because you've done your job. You've gave all you can give to the world. So create dialogue with each other. Talk to somebody. We have all these challenges. Kicking the water bottle cap challenge. You got the cucumber challenge. A whole shitload of dance challenges. I challenge all of you to talk to somebody new that you don't know and have an insightful conversation without being biased or guarded. Just be yourself. I challenge you to have a great conversation. Cool? Bad. Alright, so let's get to the politics. I know most of you gonna tune out right here. Because really none of us like talking about politics, because all of it is bullshit. Now, you got Democrats, Republicans, you got poor and rich, you got black and white. What's the significance? Is there any? Why does Democrat and Republican matter? Why does black and white matter? Why does rich and poor matter? What is all of this about? Let's break it down, right? So, we know that there is a black and white issue, but there is only a black and white issue because of what white has done to black, and now black, because of what white has done to black, has trauma, so then that has created a black on black issue, and from that black on black issue has become a lifelong cycle of white and black on black. Excuse me. Now, where does rich and poor come in? Well, rich and poor comes in because the rich want to stay rich, so they formulate agendas and laws and certain things that keep the poor poor, and they create certain systems and structures to where everything kind of routes back to them. So presidents, whether it's presidents, senators, whatever, any political party, any political affiliation, any president, all accepts money from those Fortune 500 companies, whether if it's the prescription drug companies, whether any of those major corporations, the ones that run the world. So then introduces influence. When you're the top 1% of the world and you can influence government, you win. Which then means that's going to trickle down to local government, which then also means that trickles down to the people. So let me sum all this up. Poor and middle class whites think they hate us, but they really don't. They don't have no reason to hate us. They're just doing the work of the rich whites, which look at them like white trash. So it don't make no difference. And because of all of this, the people will most likely never unite. Because we can't seem to understand that it shouldn't be a white on black issue. This should be a rich versus poor issue. It means all of us, no matter the color, creed, sexual orientation, sexual preference, it should be all of us, minorities, whites, gays, whatever, transgender, all of that. All of us against the rich folks. That's what it should be. But it's not that way. Why isn't it that way? Why isn't it that way? Why is it that the only ones that are thriving in this country like that is the rich? I'm not talking about the rappers. I don't know. I'm talking about the ones you never see on camera. The ones you really don't even know. You don't even know their names. You might know the Rochesters or Rothschilds. I'm sorry. You might, just because it's a popular name. But I'm talking about the top of the top. The ones you never even hear about. Those are the ones that shape cultures. You wonder why hip-hop ain't hip-hop no more. It's because it's controlled by little 10 and 12-year-old white boys. Politics. It's all politics. I'm not off base. This is all politics. You just got to keep up with me. It's all politics. All of this stuff that we pay attention to is bullshit. Democrat, Republican, white and black, rich, poor. What clothing done came out yesterday. What new songs done came out yesterday. It's all bullshit. All of it. The truth of the matter is, if we all woke up and banded together against the rich, then their bullshit would end. Some of us would have to die, maybe even a lot of us would have to die in the process, but eventually their bullshit would end. And then another thing, if we all woke up, we wouldn't even be in America, because America has shown its ass to us numerous time and time again, and it has taken... It's not the same as it was in the civil rights movement days, okay? We know that. Back in those days, the majority were leaders. Nowadays, the sheep are leading the wolves. So, you got black people that just because they had maybe they didn't fit in high school, or they were bullied by other black people, now they are disconnected and they have self-hatred in them and things like that. And then you got the black people that actually want to be white, which is tied in with those people also. Then you got the ignorant black people that don't want to learn anything, that don't want to listen to nobody. They just want to be in the hood for the rest of their life. Then you got the fake woke people. The ones that'll Google some stuff and now they think they're a genius. It's all bullshit, man. If you just sit back one day and just watch people. Just go to your local mall or a park, or just sit back and just watch people. Just a bunch of bullshit. We have developed this blindness to what we're supposed to see. Because of the fact that we've been desensitized at an extreme rate. Desensitized to where we can see murders on camera on our phone and not feel anything. There's videos of girls getting raped on phones. Nothing happens. The politics of this country are monstrous and evil, and the tactics that they go to, the lengths that they go to achieve a mission. I would not be surprised if there is another war. But this is what we have to deal with. This is the country that we're in. This is what we got to deal with. And I feel bad for all the people that are going to be here for the next 30 to 50 years. because it's not going to get no better. European people seem to have digressed. I mean, I'm sorry, not digressed, have reverted, I think the word is, reverted back to, I don't know. It's a different type of energy. It's just really weird. It's really weird. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be what it is. I can sit up here and preach all day and all night about how black people need to move out of this country and we need to save up money and invest and all this, that, and the third. But what does it matter if you can't even see the issues with the country? You still focused on the red bottoms that just came out, or you still focused on the Jordans that just came out, or you still focused on trying to get a Mercedes Benz when you're struggling to pay your rent. What's the point? I say things like, what will be left behind when you're gone and your kids are struggling? Are you going to make any investments to leave behind? I'm still not off base. This is still politics. Why is it politics? Because if we continue to spend our money, do all the things we do financially, mentally, emotionally in this country, the top 1% will stay the top 1%, and they will keep somewhat of an ownership over the government. I'll say this about Donald Trump. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. But at least he goes against, he stands on his own. It's pretty cool. Still don't like him, though. So, let's recap. Conversation. The power of it. I challenged you to talk to somebody new. Will you do it? Who knows? Politics. The American bullshit. It's a laid back video. I'm just trying to talk to y'all and spitball, man. Anytime y'all want to have a conversation about the things that I say, leave a comment, share it, follow, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. And just remember, the choices that you make affect everybody around you. And although you may think that you have time, what if you don't? Keep the faith, stay strong. I'm gone.